Once upon a time, in the early days of America, there lived a kind and gentle man named Johnny Appleseed. He wore a pot on his head for a hat and walked barefoot from town to town. On his back, he carried a bag full of apple seeds. Johnny loved nature and all living things, especially animals. When he walked, he'd talk to the birds in the trees and the rabbits in the fields. He'd make friends with anyone who loved the outdoors as much as he did. Johnny had one big dream. He wanted to plant apple trees all across the land so every child and family could enjoy sweet, juicy apples. So Johnny started walking. He traveled from town to town, planting apple seeds wherever he went. People would smile when they saw him coming. They'd wave to him as he passed by. The children would run up to greet him, and he'd always have a warm story to share. Sometimes he'd tell them stories about the animals he'd seen on his travels, or he'd talk about the importance of taking care of the land and all living things. Even when the weather was cold or rainy, Johnny kept walking. He planted trees in the hot sun and in the pouring rain. He planted trees on hillsides and in valleys, and he took care of the little trees until they were strong and healthy. Years later, Johnny's apple trees grew into something amazing. They grew into huge apple orchards that stretched as far as the eye could see. People came from all around to pick apples in Johnny's orchards. Families would have picnics under the shade of his trees, and children would play in the leaves. Johnny was so happy to see how his trees had grown and how much joy they were bringing to people. As the years passed, Johnny grew old. His hair turned white as snow, and his beard flowed down to his chest. But his apple trees kept growing. They gave shade and food and joy to generations of people. And so Johnny Appleseed became a legend, the man who wore a pot on his head and walked barefoot across America, the man who planted apple trees and shared his love of nature with everyone he met, the man who gave apples to America.